To begin at the beginning, I mean, you look phenomenal. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you, guys. I have been training in America for the last 3 months. I've been in an official training camp for over 4 weeks now. Training's going as training goes, you know how it goes. A few niggling injuries, nothing to write home about. I'm happy with where everything is. 4 weeks out, just under 4 weeks until the fight date. 3 more weeks of tough training, 1 week of relaxation, then we go and fight.
And you've been sparring today, haven't you? I can see it on your lip, for example.
Oh no, this is a cold sore. It's not
Okay.
not cut.
How was sparring today, anyway?
Sparring was all right. Just Tuesday routine, beginning of the week. Another tough week coming. I did a good 8 rounds today with 2 different guys, monsters. Got one guy 6'7" and 110 kilos, and the other guy is 6'9" and 120 kilos. So yeah, pretty big guys.
You know the rhythm of Vegas now, though. You know the rhythm of where you're going down to the top-ranked gym. You know where you're eating. You know, are you on the outskirts of the town, or are you there in a suite?
No, I bought a house over here in Henderson. I bought that last month or the month before. So yeah, I got my own training compound out here in Las Vegas now. I got a full-time nutritionist over here, George Lockhart, for like 3 or 4 times we've been together now. No stone left unturned, as usual. Training really hard, it's a lot of smart energy going into it rather than just hard work. A lot of dedication, going to bed early, waking up early, eating, drinking. I can't do any more, basically.
Are you happy that you have to do this fight? Is there a disappointment you can't do the AJ fight, or are you good that you're?
No, I'm pretty happy that I'm fighting and I've got a date, regardless of who it is. Not important to me. I'm just happy that I've got a date and I've got something to sink my teeth into. It's been a long time coming. By the time I get back in the ring, it'll be 18 months out since my last fight, which is a long time considering I'm nearly 33 years old and I've had a long stint of inactivity throughout my career. So it's nothing new to me, but it's a bit difficult for Deontay Wilder when he's been active all the time. So that might play in my favour. Disappointment? No, not at all. I'm out here in the capital of boxing, world capital of entertainment, topping the bill yet again in Las Vegas. Another heavyweight fight.
Dancing on the tables when he first got out there, and I love it. It's just amazing. I feel you feel the vibe, which I love. I just think it's fantastic.
Yeah, there's a time for fun and jokes and fun and games when you're not in camp, and there's a time for being serious and switched on when I'm in camp, which I am now. We're not allowed to smile in camp. My brother Shane said there's no laughing and there's no smiling in camp, so trying to keep the smile stum.
So Tyson, my big thing's neuroscience, and it fascinates me that Wilder took that moment of silence. As how did that make you feel? Did that make you feel more empowered?
No, it didn't really make me feel anything, to be fair, because I thought it was quite a clever move from Deontay Wilder. He doesn't do a lot of clever stuff. He's not the most articulate person in the world, but he did something where he couldn't be asked questions for the things he'd said. If he'd have come into the press conference answering everything, the first thing the press was going to do is tear him apart about the glove allegations and the costume and the trainer and the drugs in his water, and the long list continues on. So how would he answer those questions? He's not going to be able to. So taking the vow of silence was probably the best move he could have done.
But standing there 5 minutes and 41 seconds is just... I mean, you know, we've joked about it without being crude. You know, it's time to have sex twice and a bottle of vodka and a cigar, isn't it? I mean, it's such a long time to stand on stage. How did that feel in that moment?
Again, no, it was, we were standing there. It was his choice to stand and not turn away for a minute or two. And all of a sudden, he was feeling uncomfortable and jittery, and I could see him, he was twitching a little bit and stuff. So his trainer came over and rescued him, only touched him on the shoulder and said, "That'll do now, D." And he was so happy to be rescued. So if you were going to go to the point of not looking away for 5 minutes and 41 seconds, why turn away and give a moral victory away straight away like that?
The things that, obviously, like you say, he managed to shut you out in a way. Like you said, it's quite a clever move in a way. But the problem comes in fight week. Because he can't say nothing all the way up to the fight, can he?
I don't really think that you can talk all as much as you want to. When you get in the boxing ring, the talking's over.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really go for much, to be fair. There's a lot of ways you could look at this psychologically. He may have had the headphones on because he doesn't want to get into a to and fro with me, and he doesn't want to get into a talking match because every time he does so, he comes out second best. He doesn't want me let me get into his head or whatever. But that there is all weakness, in my opinion. He wears earphones with music so I don't get in his head. What type of a mentality is that?
Tyson, how much out of interest do you think a fight is won before you get into the ring, or is it all as you action to the ring?
Again, for me, like, people could say whatever they want to about me and it doesn't really mean much. I'm not really too bothered. It doesn't change the way I'm going to fight or anything like that. Suppose it's all down to your mental makeup. What type of mentality you have towards your job. So yeah, I'm not too sure. I can't answer that because my mental makeup is 100% concrete. I'm unbreakable.
You broke him last time. You put the bully on the back foot and he had no answer to it. The obvious question is, do you continue from where you left off last time in your trilogy fight?
Yeah, I've done nothing wrong. I just continue to do what I do, keep moving forward and putting the pressure on him, landing big punches. He's the one that's coming off a knockout loss and a one-sided fight, and he's the one who's got to tell himself all these reasons why he lost and sack everybody in his team and blame everybody and point the finger. If you're an alcoholic or you're a drug addict or something like that, the only way you can actually move on from that is acceptance. You can't be in denial about it and say, I'm not an alcoholic, I'm not a drug addict. The first way of recovering and getting over something is accepting what's gone on. And the way he's been acting and conducting, he can't accept defeat.
Yeah, so he's trying to be aggrieved, isn't he? He's trying to find reasons to be aggrieved. He's trying to find reasons to make himself...
All this time.
Yeah.
He still hasn't moved on from defeat. So when you can't let go of something, there's a saying, for he who holds a hot coal with intentions of throwing it at somebody ends up getting burnt himself.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So that's what I think is happening with Deontay Wilder, but he's not to be underestimated. He's got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
You are still facing the heaviest puncher in probably the history of the heavyweight division with single punches, and you've ridden them. Can I just push you on something, though? Because it's something that you are the man that steps in the middle. You are the man that brings his voice to the middle of it. You are the man who puts his life, his legacy, his history, his religion, everything on the line. The world... Even though, and we're all excited about the trilogy fight with Deontay Wilder because you're two giant human beings signing a contract to fight on a certain date, at a certain place, a certain time, and we will all either be there or watching. But there is so much global excitement, and I know you well enough to know that you want... I know you say you don't want a legacy, but we want the legacy for you, all right? In that way, let me put it that way. How much does it matter about fighting Anthony Joshua to even entertain the world and show that you are the modern Muhammad Ali, that you are the modern George Foreman? How much do you want that fight to show us, to entertain us?
When I fight Deontay Wilder next and I get through that, then I'll answer that question. Until then,
you never change.
Until then, I've got no interest in Anthony Joshua. Yeah. If that fight was going to happen, it would have happened. But the route was that this is going to be the fight that happens next. And you know what happens to people who look forward to other fights other than the fight they're having? They get knocked out. I can't make that mistake. Because at the end of the day, whether I fight AJ, Wilder, whoever there is out there, it's not about what they bring to the table. It's about what I do for me. It's like it's what I'm going to do on the night, whatever it is. It doesn't make a difference. They're just names. See, over here in America, Anthony Joshua's a nobody. They're not interested. This is the biggest fight by far.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's bigger now. And it's bigger.
Oh, it's much bigger with all the controversy. And we've been on pay-per-view twice. And the general public in America are starting to get to know us a lot better than they did the first time and second time. It's a very eagerly anticipated fight. The tickets for this are unbelievably well compared to last time, even though the Brits aren't allowed to travel. So it just shows how much bigger this is this time. So yeah, over here, me and Anthony Joshua isn't a big fight, but me and Deontay Wilder is. In Britain, it's a one-sided affair. Obviously, me and AJ is the biggest fight, but over here, he's only known for getting knocked out by the fat guy who didn't train. So they're not really too much interested in him until he can do something.
So I loved watching you at the Canelo fight, the weigh in, the kind of involvement in it all and being there and being part of it all. So obviously you've been a massive champion in mental health moving forward. Where do you think that now sits in boxing? Do you think there's enough support for all of that?
I think there's a lot of support going on worldwide now for mental health and smashing the stigma of it all, and in day-to-day jobs, and not just sports. It's gaining a lot of momentum in everyday life. People coming out now and speaking about it a lot more in the last few years than they've ever done ever. I think even the government are talking more about it than they've ever done. So I think there's a lot more help today than there's ever been. It's more acceptable today, and more people are more educated on the matter than they've ever been in history before.
And I think you've accelerated that, and I think that's absolutely fantastic, because I think you're a force to be reckoned with. You're a very big guy, so to be able to say actually this is the moment there, it's important, is absolutely incredible, and I think it's amazing. But there's one more thing I'd really like. So obviously, as a boxing promoter now, specialising only in women's boxing, you have a daughter.
So are you only promoting women's boxing?
Yeah, so I've just set up something called Unified Promotions, and it's just for women. So a safe haven, a good place for women to be able to train, encourage women in the sport, but more, if I'm honest as well, about the whole rhetoric about the right equipment. So you guys have got belt heights that protect your crown jewels, but sits right across the women's ovaries, and actually that's not right. And gloves aren't right for women. They're just, they're men's gloves but made small and pink. So we have a phrase that you pink it and shrink it, but maybe that's not good enough. We need actually some gloves. So that women's boxing wasn't in the Olympics, or hasn't really been around for more than 10 years. The Olympics was 2012. So for me, it's about providing now a place where women can go. But my question, and where I'd be really interested, is A, do you like watching women's boxing? And B, would you let your daughter box?
Well, it's a great subject, and I'm glad you've touched on it. I think women's boxing, just like mental health, is in the best place it's ever been in history. Do I like women's boxing? Fantastic. I think the women's boxing, it's very, very common known that women have a higher pain threshold than men. It's 100% true. And when you watch women's boxing, they get stuck in. There's never a bad fight. There's, excuse me French, but there's no pussies in women's boxing. They're like, don't go down pretending to be knocked out. There's no. It seems to be with the guys. There's always them fighters, and they show out and they don't want to be in there. And with the girls, they're like that doesn't happen. They get stuck in. They get cut up and busted up. And women's boxing's on a big high with like the likes of Katie Taylor and the Pursuit Girl and Natasha Jonas, and there's so many of them. There's so many good girl fights. Michaela Mayer over here for the Top Rank Girl, and
Clarissa Shields,
Clarissa Shields. Who else is there?
HH Diva. There's Savannah Marshall, who your uncle's training.
Marshall, she's pretty good.
Yeah, there's loads. There's loads now.
Matchroom have created women's boxing, so fantastic achievement to Eddie Earn. Even though we don't see eye to eye, but he has really put women's boxing on the map, like unbelievable amount, and it's very watchable now. People are. I'd pay per view to watch these women fight world title, just like I'd pay per view to see the top blokes fight. So I'm all for it. Would I let my girls box? 100% if they wanted to. Muhammad Ali's daughter, Layla Ali, was a world champion like a dad.
Yeah.
It's just that I've got two daughters at the moment, and they're both very girly. They're not interested in boxing at all.
Time though, give it time.
Yeah. So
seems to be when they were younger, they were more interested, and now I've got one like she's turning 12 soon. She'd be more into like girly stuff, whatever that may be.
I have an 11-year-old who's 99.9% certain she's a Disney princess. So there's no boxing for her either. But yeah, it might come round, mightn't it? It might come good in the end.
Might do.
One of the things, just going back to that, what you're saying about the mental health, I think one of the things that you broke the mould with as well is that you're from, like, fighting as part of the family and holding yourself in and not showing your emotions. And, I mean, as we know, you and I went for a run on the beach in Marbella when you weighed 27 stone, I managed to keep up with you, only because you were 27 stone. But it's like, from the family you're from, it was an extraordinary thing for you to break the mould and do that. But it was only because you plumbed the depths and had dark days that you were actually able to do that. Has that had an impact on your family around you as well?
Most definitely. My dad, my brothers, family members, cousins, relatives, they were all pretty uneducated on mental health. And I believe that a lot of them suffer with it.
Yeah.
Like my dad, he's definitely a mental health sufferer. And even he's coming to grips with it now, and he'll admit it. Where before he was like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. I've not got no problems. But now they're accepting it. And it's like, I did a tour, like a mental health tour in England in 2019. And my dad came with me and he was like, I didn't know there was this many people struggling. So he really can see it's been a massive, I believe I've had a massive impact on mental health moving forward in the UK for sure and around the world. And yeah, I believe that it's definitely more acceptable now, and people are trying to come out with it. And you won't believe the amount of messages and letters have been wrote, and people stopping me in the street saying, "You've saved my life," this, that, and the other. So it's definitely been one of the best things I've ever achieved in my life. That's for sure.
Is it for you? I know you're a fighting man, as we always talk about. You're a fighting man, born and bred to fight. Yeah. But is your bigger legacy in the end going to be what you've done for that rather than what you do in the ring?
I don't know. The sport is one thing, and it's been very good to me, boxing. I've had a lot of low times, and it's made me very unwell as well at times. But the highs are great. The lows are terrible. After every extreme high, there's got to be even lower low for me. So when I beat Wilder, like last time, I returned home. And for the first 10 days, the only thing I think about was suicidal thoughts.
Amazing. Wow.
So yeah, it was a very low time for me. And it took me 2 weeks to get right again. And this is after every extreme high with somebody who's on a mental health patient level like myself. There's always going to be extreme lows. So the higher the high, the lower the low. And that's 100% true. But it's knowing how to manage and maintain these problems. And that's the word that is the key factor here. It's the maintenance word. Because if you can know yourself and know you're going to get well again in a few days, then you're going to be okay.
Wow.
So is there a bit when you go into this next fight that you're almost expecting from the high to the low? Is there a bit
I already know what's going to happen every time. Every single fight I've ever had. And it's not just me. I believe that I'd say 85% of boxers are the same.
Without going this being a kind of a therapy session, when you get those, when you're in that mood, when your brain's there, when your soul is there, is Paris there for you in that moment? Where do you go to in yourself? Where do you go to go in and then come out of it? How do you process?
You're in your own head.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've all heard that saying before. I'm stuck in my own mind.
Yeah.
That's where you go. And it just takes time to get back right again. It's not going to happen in 1 day or 1 hour. It takes time, and I get back well again quite quickly. And I'm able to the routine does it for me. It's a massive change. I go from headlining in Las Vegas, being the king of the world, to doing the bins in Morecambe Bay. It's a massive change. I go from being out here for 10 to 12 weeks, training every day, having me food cooked, being trapped like a top-class racehorse, to go back home to becoming dad again, the adjustment, dad, school runs, bin days, that sort of stuff, cooking, cleaning, all the normal stuff that you do as a husband and a father.
Please tell me, though, you still do it in that amazing Versace ensemble. That even when you're doing the bins, that you're still out, you're still rocking the look. Tell me you don't.
I have been known to do the bins in a 3-piece before.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
So,
But you have to come back down to earth.
Yeah, it's how.
You can't stay in the stars. There has to be a point where you return to normality. Whatever normality is to you, you have to return to it, because if you stay at that elevated level, you get lost.
Has all this stuff that you go through, has it made you a better fighter, boxer, because you've actually explored yourself a little more and you understand why you do it and maybe the consequences of doing it?
No, I think we've touched on this before briefly.
We have.
I have 2 characters.
Yeah.
So Tyson Fury as a man is a very flawed character. We're only human after all. We all make mistakes. We're all tempted. We all do things on a daily basis that maybe we shouldn't do. But the Gypsy King is untouchable. And when I'm in a boxing ring, or when I am that person, I've never had any trouble. The Gypsy King's never experienced mental health issues. He's never experienced downtime or lowness or depression or anxiety. Never had suicidal thoughts, never had anything, actually. But when I return from that person, morph back into myself, then I have the trouble. So has it made me a better boxer? No, because Tyson Fury as a man is not a boxer.
How far below you, technically, psychologically, mentally, in the office, back to boxing now, in the office, are all the other heavyweights in the world behind you?
You know, I believe that I'm improving on a daily basis. I try to be better than yesterday that I am today. Try to be better today than I was yesterday. Correction. I've started to do things correct in the later years of my career. I've only started taking boxing seriously at nearly 30 years old, which is the crazy thing. You've known me for a long time, Gareth, and after every single fight, I'd balloon up to like 25 stone, 24, 10, 26 stone, and have to get back down to 18, 19. So I never had it was always a weight loss boot camp, always. Now I've been doing it correct since like 29 and a half. I learned that I could stay in shape and it was good for my mental health and it was good for my physical fitness and good for me as an athlete to stay in shape all year round. And just what I should have done from the beginning, really. But we all learn and make mistakes, and experience is an invaluable thing. So yeah, now I do things correctly. I'm eating right, and I don't let my weight go above a certain weight, and I'm training and physically, mentally, emotionally practicing stuff on a daily basis. So how far are behind the competition? Only the history will tell the story of that. Because, I'm nearly 33. I've had a long, long career. Like, I turned professional at 20 years old back in 2008. Everybody else on the class of 2008 is retired, finished, long gone. And I'm a lone standing soldier on my own now. And it's like, how far can I push this legacy? Stratosphere, beyond. Like Buzz Lightyear said, to infinity and beyond. I think I've surpassed that.
Journey with you.
We're
coming with you.
It's I got this Wilder fight. I've got a few fights left on my contract. I'm just going to see how it goes. Play it by ear, just one fight at a time, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. We really don't know.
AJ Usyk, is it going to happen, and who's going to win?
Will it happen? I don't know. They said it's going to happen. I'm reading that it's going to happen in September. I haven't paid it too much attention, to be fair. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I've been analysing the fight and whatever, because I haven't. I've been concentrating on my own fight. I think it's a good fight for both guys, and there'll be a lot to prove on it. Everyone puts Usyk in the pound for pound list, whatever that means. And everyone's like, can Joshua handle someone with a good boxing ability and speed and accuracy? And the other way around, can Usyk handle a big mammoth and a big puncher and a strong heavyweight, a lot bigger than the guy? So it'll be an interesting fight to watch, and I'll definitely buy it on the TV to watch it for sure.
So pound for pound, you touch on that. Who's your top? Who have you got?
I don't believe in it. It doesn't mean anything for me.
Oh, see, we had this debate
It's mythical.
earlier.
You don't believe in the mythical, do you?
Well, it's like the Minotaur and Zeus and all them things. It's like they're made up legends. So pound for pound is the same. And I believe it was created to give the little guys in the division some credibility, like flyweights, bantamweights, because the heavyweights were always the traction. Like they're always the golden stars of boxing and of the game. So without these little lists, who would hear of a 9-stone Japanese guy? Nobody. So they've got to have these type of things to give these little guys and girls credibility in the game, because people are usually interested in the big heavyweights. Throughout generations, if you ask like some of the general public to name some boxers, ask them to name 10 boxers, most of them will be heavyweights.
So if you were going to name your favourite heavyweight, obviously other than yourself, who is it? Who's the man that made you go, oh my God, that's amazing?
I've watched boxing all my life and I've analysed it a lot, and I've watched a lot of heavyweights over the years, and I don't have an actual favourite, but I have a lot of people that I really admire, like Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, Michael Spinks, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis. A lot of these guys were all great fighters. Everyone's can only be as good as their generation will allow them to be. We can only be as good as our competition as well. If you're a dominant heavyweight in an era that you don't have good competition, then you will not go down as a legendary fighter. That's for sure. Why was Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran talked about as 4 kings? Because they had each other. If you look at the dominance of Vladimir Klitschko and Vitaly Klitschko, people were happy when they moved over because they didn't have much competition throughout their reign. Same with like the likes of Joe Louis. Great champions, 26 title defenses, but they never had that great back and forth. People talk of the heavyweights from the 70s, the Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Ken Norton. They were 4 great heavyweights who all fought each other multiple times. The trilogies with Muhammad Ali and people like that, just they were great because the competition made them great. And I believe that I've got competition like that now.
Well, so have we got time? Well, you're obviously having the trilogy with Wilder on the 24th of July in Las Vegas. Can you envisage a trilogy with Anthony Joshua?
I don't know. I don't know, but I can think.
You think you knock him out? That's why, and you knock him out again.
The thing is with the trilogy only happens if there's been a controversial thing in the first fight, or if it was really close the first time. Something went wrong. Someone never got the decision. The second time, one guy wins, or they win one each. That's how trilogies happen. But whether that will happen, I don't ever see myself losing a fight. So I don't see like it can be 1-1 and then we go again.
You know what you do to Anthony Joshua. You've got the vision of it in your head. I know you're focused on Deontay Wilder at the moment because we spoke to you the other day about this. But you think you knock them all out anyway now, don't you?
I do believe that I can get the better of all these people. And the reason I believe this is because there's a lot of facts behind it. It's not just me assuming something or surmising something. The facts are that I've been a pro since 2008 and I've travelled the world and I've fought up-team champions who had more than 10 title defences. And I've travelled to their backyards and I fought the fights that nobody else wanted to do all the way through my career. Started off fighting good men when I wasn't ready for it at a young age. And I've always found a way to win every single time. And even when the chips were down and I was down on the canvas, I've always managed to get up and do me business. And I haven't found someone to better me in all those years. 31 professional fights and nearly 33 years old. So I'm still traveling the world to try and find that man. And I haven't found him yet.
Well, you know what we are. We're travellers, and what are we? We're Spartans, aren't we?
We are. We're travellers through life, and we're Spartans in our mind.
It's great to see you, Tyson. Really, really appreciate the time and all the things that you think about. Cannot wait to see your fight and see you in Vegas in a couple of weeks' time.
I'm going to be training hard, but very smart. It's great to see you looking really well, Gareth. And nice to meet you too, darling. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck in your new venture. And I hope you become, listen, it's very, there's definitely a niche in the market for it. That's for sure. It's a very clever idea. And I wish you all the best in your upcoming career.
Thank you. Good luck.
See you soon.